Okay, thank you, Sahar, for being here. Okay, so let's go back, guys, and look at the 6 steps of incident response. And I was saying, I was telling you guys about the incident response process. It's different from a book to book and different from a standard to standard, but again, they are almost the same steps. So you really need to really remember them. And again, I was telling you that I hate to memorize things. So I wanted you to understand it to the point that if someone wake you up from sleeping and asked you what is the process of handling a case, you really can reply without even trying to memorize them. Okay, so what is this? And then we will try to make sure that's really uh, the cases. So first of all, you need to be able to prepare for the incident. So this is where you guys really see, okay, I need these guys to be, and I need to make a team. Okay, so this is part of preparation. I need to make a team. I need to train this team. I need to have a communication links. I need to be able to talk to a legal environment, legal officer. I need to have some forensics tools, because maybe in one incident you really need to collect some incidents. So this is the preparation. Think about it. You are going to a trip. Okay, you're going to a trip. You say, okay, I need this and this and that, and I need also to have my car full of fuels. I need also. So you're preparing for a trip. Also, the incident response is like you preparing for something big is gonna happen. So you need to have everything prepared and on the place before you can handle the incident. So things that's like what? So things like a communication. Okay, so who you gonna communicate when an incident happens? So if your SOC engineer find an incident, who's he will gonna communicate to? Okay, are you have a dedicated team for the incident response, or you gonna get people from outside to do the incident response? So this is also you need to be able to define. Okay, if you are not having a dedicated team, okay, and if you don't gonna get someone from outside, can I get some different people from different team and gather them at the time of incident to work with me? So this is another approach. So this is all preparation for the team and who is gonna be there, because you don't want, an incident happen and then you call Muhammad. Muhammad is not here. He is on vacation. Okay, how about Ahmad? He's supposed to be here. Oh, Ahmad, I don't know. He went out for lunch. So who is gonna be there? What is their number? Okay, so you need someone always be able to handle the incident when the incident happened. So you need to get to know the team. You need to get the support from management, because support of management means you get the resources to handle the incidents. You need also to get a communication plan. Who you gonna call when you have an incident? Okay, do I have to call only technical people, or have to inform my legal environment and HR department? So all this should be done before even one incident happens. So preparation is very important task, and that's why I think Jeremy, I don't know, one of the United States, I would say, leaders, they asked him once, okay, if we give you a task to cut all the trees, okay, in an entire forest, okay, if we give you 8 hours to cut all these trees in an entire forest, okay, how long it takes from you to plan? He said, I will take 6 hours to plan for the execution, and then I will execute in 2 hours. Means planning is important, okay? So you're planning for an exam, you will get all the materials, you will read the books, okay? So this is all what I need. I will go in details in what is preparation is all about. Okay, then we will go to identification. Identification means that I really need to identify, do we have an event or do we have an incident? Okay, and this is really important, again, because I don't want to call someone here in the incident teams if we don't have a 100% identification. And that's why identification really depend about your SOC team and how your SOC team is really good in what they do or no. Okay, so if they are good and they will give me only incidents, that's perfect. Okay, I need to verify their work, and then I will go ahead and do containment. But again, identification is important. And what is identification is all about? I really wanted to know, do I have incidents or do I have a normal event? Who is gonna really escalate and also it's in the identification phase, you need to really to look at the severity. Okay, we call it the triage of your incident. Okay, so you really need to do this as well in this identification. So you really need to differentiate between event and incident. And once we have an incident, we do need to really to see the severity of this incident. So this is the identification phase. Once the identification, we have an incident, we declare we have an incident, and then we start to do containment. Okay, and we look at today also there is something called short-term containment, and there is also, and during the containment phase, guys, this is where your digital forensics will start to work as well. Okay, so in containment, you have 3 stages. Okay, you have short-term containment. Okay, this is where you disconnect the network, maybe, or maybe you disable a port in a switch. So this is the short-term containment. And we have something called digital forensics. So the digital forensics get involved with here, because once I discover we have an incident, once I start to analyze what's happening, I can tell if this is a computer crime that will later on I need some evidence to present it in a court or no. So the containment also include digital forensics team get involved with. And then sometimes that's why I talked to you guys before, that in digital forensics and the incident response is one team in so many organizations. They called it DFR. Okay, the third phase actually first step to mitigate the risk. So Ibtisam is saying that this containment is to mitigate. I agree with you, Ibtisam, is to contain the damage. To be more specifically, to contain the damage. And here, guys, the third part of the containment is basically long-term containment. We'll talk about what is the difference between all these areas. Once I did the containment, okay, and once I finish all gathering for digital forensics, I will do eradication. And eradication here is I will try to get rid of this malware, get rid of these hackers, get rid of the the root cause of this issue. You can see, okay, the attacker here added a user, he added a service, he added a registry on this machine, okay, and he is communicating to the outside. Okay, if you just deleted this user and then deleted this service and deleted this registry key and maybe close this connection with the attacker, this is not called eradication. It's a part of eradication, but not all the eradication. Eradication means I really need to find the root cause. What makes this system is vulnerable in the first place? Because I want, if I find out, I really need to eradicate the root cause of this issue. Because if I deleted all this stuff, still my system is vulnerable. So the attacker can come again and install this stuff. Or maybe he can fish the user again to click a link. So eradication means finding the root cause and trying to get rid of this root cause. And then finally, recovering means return the system to operation again. Because again, it's very important that we have our system up and running and in continuous, okay, in order to produce money and in order to make profit, and in order to really achieve business objective of our business. So recovery means I need to get the system back to be up and running. And finally, as I mentioned before, we need to understand what happened and how to avoid this to happen in the future. So for example, if I had the phishing attacks, which user was involved in this phishing attacks, okay? Maybe I will conduct for him a training, or maybe I will go check what is my email gateway done and how this email managed to slip from my email gateway. So I will install a new rules, or will I maybe I will just make SPF, the security protocol framework, effective. So all this stuff, this is quickly all the phases that we have already covered, okay, before, and I think it makes sense right now. Even if you have, let's say, fire breaks into your home, what happens? happens is, okay, first of all, you call the police, the incident response, or the firefighters. So this is the firefighters, especially you 100%. It's an incident. This is a fire. No joking. So I will call the incident response. They will try to contain as much. And containing means I will limit the damage. I will limit this fire to spread up into the whole building because it can do more damage. And okay, they try to basically to eradicate this fire, mean get rid of the source of these fires. Okay, because if we didn't eradicate the fires, the fire was still coming from this source over and over, and then we started to recover to a normal to normal place again, so people can live in this building again. And finally, we will learn about what happened that caused this fire and how to avoid this to happen in the future. So this is it. As again, it makes more sense, okay, to really look at it from making sense. Ask you what kind of steps that we exist in incident response. And again, the incident response again and digital forensics and SOC tier 1, they having some overlapping stages. So for example, this identification is between the SOC tier 1 and the incident response. So this area is specifically for SIC 1, but it's gonna be also verified and done again in incident response. So we need to understand there's some overlapping here. Also in the containment part, you can get the digital forensics also team to take a digital evidence. So the incident response, sometimes they do the digital evidence if they can handle the digital forensics. If they don't know, maybe you will get a team from outside. So the containment phase does have digital forensics. So this is where you can see SOC are working with incident response, was working in with digital forensics in one simple incident, and they call this team, when they gather all of them, they called it the war room. War room means you have a war right now, or you have something really suspicious happening, and we collect the SOC team, the incident team, and the digital forensics teams, and maybe a business manager to discuss what we should do and what we will do. This is the war rooms. You will hear about war rooms, inshallah, more inshallah later when you start to work as, if you decided to work as an incident response. And I will say that incident response is also very high paid, guys. So this is also a nice career if you have the mentality to do this. Okay, guys. So far, so good.
So far, so good.
Okay. I will go, guys. Take a break now. Right now, I think it's a good time to take a break. Have some coffee to get. It's all like I would say what we have already talked about. We are just trying to connect those together, and we already refreshing your mind about what we said before about incident response. So let's go for 15 minutes break. 15 minutes, sorry, to only Maha. So I was in, okay, Nasiba seems like really enthusiastic about coffee today. So 15 minutes, okay. And we'll come 10:45. Thank you guys very much. Sometimes they call it CSIR, which stands for Cybersecurity Incident Response, or CIR, which is Computer Incident Response. Do in the first early beginning is planning, means preparation is the first discussion. So let's go and look at the planning phases and what we do exactly in the planning phase. So in the discussion, okay, first of all, we need to discuss in the planning the detections. How do I know about incident affecting me? Okay, so this is going to be a general question in your planning phase. Okay, so in your planning phase, on your preparation phase, you need to ask your question, how will you get the detections? How can I get different logs from different resources? Okay, how can I store these logs? Okay, guys. So this is the first early beginning, is the first early discussion in order to really to do the planning, okay? And then the analysis, also you need to really do some analysis once you have logs that confirming an incident. And in the analysis phase, guys, you really need to understand how bad is the situation, the severity or the triage of your case. Okay, why? Because according to the how bad is the situation is, you're gonna either you're gonna implement the IR, the incident response team, okay, or you're gonna implement the IR and the digital forensics team if it's a computer crime, or maybe if it's a really huge issue, you can implement your basically disaster recovery, DR, okay? Or if you cannot continue anymore to work from this certain place because this was a huge incident, maybe you can just go and implement your contingency planning incident. So really the severity, okay, and what time then it can have in your hands from logs, you really need to understand, implement my IR. Don't think this is really require the digital forensics team to get involved because this is not a computer crime. So, or you can just go to the crimes, okay, you the decision without telling them, go ahead and involve the digital forensics team. So IR and digital forensics teams for normal, limited, severe, I would say, incidents. If the incident is huge, implement your disaster recovery. If your incident is like gonna take all over the building, go ahead and implement the contingency planning. Okay, guys? And then also you need to think about recovering. How would I recover from this situation? Okay, so this is the recovering phase. Maybe recovering phase is all about here in the in the early preparation. Oh, I need to have a list of all my servers that exist in this organization. I need to have a list of all topologies. I need to have a list of all operating systems that we have in our organization. I need to have a list of all the applications that need. Maybe I need to have an image for a Windows with all this application installed so I can recover the system. Maybe I can have also some tools that can really detect viruses and really make sure the system is clean so I can really after recovery I scan them and make sure the system before I put it in operation again we have the application, we have the tools installed on top of it. So this is the recovery phase. Okay, and then lastly, we talked about lesson learned, and I have explained why lesson learned is important. Okay, so without no further really looking at this, so in the preparation phase, guys, is all about the team. Okay, getting the team ready. Okay, as you can see here, the most important aspect here, guys, is you having the team. Okay, you prepare this team for handling the incident, so you give them a training. Okay, you give them the tools that they will use during the incident response. And ideally, this incident response team skills should be able to do different things. So you need someone who needs how to handle incident on network side. You need someone who can handle incident in the system side. You need someone who can handle the incident in application and maybe endpoint, because the incident will be impacting one of these areas. So you need skill sets, or you need super guy who really understand network and systems and also applications. You have someone who knows about everything. Okay, so this is getting the real team. Okay, you need to define for them their rules and responsibilities, because this is very important. You will be application part. Okay, someone else will be able to extract the evidence from from the computers that have been impacted, or the hardware that is being impacted, or the server that's been impacted. So we need to define the rule and responsibilities. We need also to come up with a communication plan so we'll be able to reach all these guys when something happens. So the preparation, the first area is the goal, is getting your team ready to handle incidents efficiently and effectively. And efficiently and effectively, it requires them, first of all, to do a lot of training. So they manage to do the training again. Okay. Another thing, guys, they need to do is incidents. Okay. In order to get them to really handle incident effectively, you have so many type of simulation. Okay. So you can simulate a table simulation, and you get different team to participate. Okay, so we say, okay, I have an incident right now. What we gonna do first? So you're expecting every one of them will tell you exactly what is his role, or I will is the network. The second one will say, okay, I will try to find the root cause. The third one, I will recover the system. Okay, so now you have everyone knows his roles, and in the table exercise, you don't really require any hands-on. You just asking them who is gonna do this, who's gonna do this. So you're checking if everyone knows exactly what is his role. Okay. Again, يعني God forbid someone have a fire. Okay, when the firefighter comes to your to the place where the fire is, you find every one of them are having a certain basically rule. Okay, you find someone who's jumping on this stairs to go up. You find someone who's really taking care of this, the water supply to make sure the water will be pumped in a specific way. You'll find someone who's going into the stairs to maybe catch someone who's still alive and evacuate people from the building. So you will find different teams, and everyone is completely different task. How they manage to be this efficient and this effective is by training. Okay, so the table training is very important. We call it table exercise. And then we have also, walk through exercise. Okay, you show me what you will do in the systems. You show what you're gonna do in the network. Okay, so this is the walkthrough exercise, guys. It's basically a bit more advanced of just table one, which in this case, guys, what I will do, I will say, walk me through what you will do. Okay, show me that you are able to log in and disable this network port. Or may show me you can recover an image to this machine. Show me that you can take a sample of this malware. Okay, so this is not really a real situation. Okay, but again, I'm trying to see how ready they are, because the most important thing for in incidents is that your team is ready to handle this incident. Okay, so the walkthrough exercise is also important. And then you also have a simulation. Okay, we will simulate there's an attacks taking place. And what we're gonna do now, guys. Okay, so everyone, let's say the simulation is the highest one. Okay, we are mimicking that an incident happened. Okay, now go, you guys, and hunt and do your job as an incident response. Okay, and then you see what they do. If you find some mistakes, you try to fix this. In reality, these mistakes will not happen. So this is in preparation phase, and I told you guys how can we make our preparation is really effective by training and different type of training, which is basically the table exercise, the walkthrough exercise, and the simulation exercise. Okay, easy. Okay, so let's go and talk about also the people in the incident response team. You really need to get people really ready, and this is what we have explained. And he said that people also from you not response team, but you also train your own employees how to handle the incident, how to report an incident. So this is really important, because as they said that there is an overlooked aspect of cybersecurity. Is basically you don't train your own user for the end user for what they do, because user can be one of this early alarm for you to tell you there's an incident happening. So also during the training, you train on user about what we should do if they seen an phishing attacks or they been phished. Okay, who they should call. Okay, and also you train also what we call them the help desk team, because the help desk team guys are also someone is really there who can really spot an incident when it happens. Okay, why? Because they are very close to the user and they got also calls from the user all the time. So make sure also the preparation plan is to train also your end user and your help desk team about incidents. Okay, so this is another thing. Okay, also during the preparation guys, you need to have a policy in place how to handle incidents, and also you need to have warning banners in all your systems. Why we need a warning banners and why we need policies? Again, the policy is basically is the intention of the management how to handle the incident. So that's why we said in the early beginning in the preparation phase, try to buy in the management, buy in to get them support this initiative, because they're gonna spend and they're gonna do all other stuff. So this is the policy is important, and the warning banners is basically the warning banners. When let's say that you went to McDonald's or Kentucky or one of these places, and you can find a very nice sign saying this basically a warning banner. It will not stop you to get inside the room, but at least later on, okay, if I decided to really punish you, I would say I have warned you to go inside this room, told you this is an restricted area, but you still went inside. So now you cannot tell that no one, يعني there is something in the US laws. It's by law that you have to warn people that is a specific property area, and you cannot enter, because if you didn't say that, that means he can go anywhere. Okay. Also in your system, you need to have this banner saying, especially in your routers and the switches and systems, and maybe even your database. This is a restricted system. It's only meant for this company XYZ. Okay, and it's their employees and their customer. If you are not the employees or the customer who is authorized to get here, you are not allowed by default. So this is warning banner. It will not stop him, but again, you can really later on to take him accountable. Implement your warning banner. You must advise the user that access to the system is limited to company authorized activity. Okay, any attempt for at any authorized access, use, or modification is prohibited. So this basically you are telling them don't modify or don't access something you don't have the access to. Okay, unauthorized user may face criminal or civil penalties. So this is all a warning that's for the attackers or for people who's not authorized. Okay, and this is by law, guys. In the US, you should do this warning banners. Okay, the use of this system may be monitored and recorded. If the monitoring reveal possible evidence of criminal activities, the company can provide the record to the law enforcement. So this is all part of also being prepared and ready for the incident, is to have uh, your uh, your system also does have this banners or the warning banners. Also, let the legal team to look at this warning banners and tells you what they think. Okay, so this is another also for being preparing for an incident is an other aspect. Okay, and then uh, in the preparation for the for the incidents also, it mentioned here clearly that during an incident, make sure that you have a pen, okay, and a notepad to really write down what's happening. Okay, this is very important because later on when you go to the judge, you can show them what happened at what time in a notepad, so it's easy for them, to read and understand that you were organized from the minute that you know about the incident. So this is important. So you have to take notes. So prepare your notepad and your pen. Okay. Another way also, it's hard for attacker to intercept. Means if we are during an incident, guys, and we exchanging messages, emails to each other. Okay, that means, okay, if the attacker are within our network and can sniff our data, they can see our emails. So if you're telling some of your colleagues, you know, you need to switch this machine off, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to take an evidence here from the memory, okay, the attacker can see this. Okay, so it also is good to have these kind of notes, okay, especially during an attack or during an incident, and never exchange this data over the mean that attackers. I had heard these stories from someone which work in one of the organizations that I was taking a course in it, and this guy was saying, okay, you know, we mentioned that something called war room. This war room is where you can get the digital forensics team, the, you know, the incident response team, the system teams, okay, and also the threat hunting teams. They are sitting together. They are planning for how to respond to an incident, okay. And they talked about what system need to be shut down, what system need to be isolated, what the plan is, how can we handle this incident. And as soon as they leave the room, they find out that the attacker have already moving to another machines, and they compromising new machines. Okay, so what happened? A telephone, and this telephone are basically a voice over IP. So it use the IP address and it use voice over IP to communicate. So the attacker also didn't only compromise the network, they compromise also the phone, and they turn the mic on. So they were able to listen to all the conversation between all the teams, and they know their plan exactly. So this war team, they needed to meet up outside the work, okay, in Starbucks or any other coffee shop, to talk about their plan now, how to handle this incident. Why? Because even their voice network was compromised. So it's always also, it's nice to take you know, non digital ways to communicate with the team. Or maybe I have seen this a lot. We know that our, maybe our WhatsApp is more you know, more secure than our network if the network is being attacked. So what we can do is we can have a group for this war team, and they can exchange messages over maybe FaceTime or maybe your WhatsApp. But if your telephone is also compromised, if your mobile phone is compromised, this is going to be a problem as well. So you need to make sure that no one is spying on you, or the attacker cannot really see your data, especially if you're sending an email or something. Okay, so we finished the preparation phase. We told you how to create a team, how to make sure that the team is ready for an incident by giving him a training, by giving him a simulation for the attacks, how you implement the system to really give a warning for someone who's intruding, and now the identification phase. So the identification phase is a phase that is really an overlapping phase between the incident response team and the SOC team. And the whole idea behind identification, guys, is to detect deviation from the norm and attempt to do the harm. So we really look at the anomalies, or to look at the abnormal activity, to look for something which is not usual happening in our network or our systems. So this is, we have already talked about before, and we keep telling you identification is very important, because this is where you can tell if it's a real incident or just an event. Okay, guys? So we can just move on where I can find identification, okay, or where the identification take place or occur. Okay, so here, right here, I need to have some logs to analyze in order to tell if it's an evidence or an event. Okay, so how would I do this? You can collect logs from different area and inside the network and start to analyze it. Okay, and then you can only know at that time if it's a real incident or no. So if you guys can see, the identification can occur anywhere, but there is a good places to look at: your network parameter, okay, your host parameter, your system level detections, your application level detections. As again, this is exactly what we said. Our IT system consists of network, operating system, application, human behavior, administrator behavior. If I can get all these logs, I can tell, okay, how can I get the network perimeter stuff? This is going to be from your router, your firewall, your IDS, IPS. Where is it going to get this data from? The host parameter is going to come from your maybe operating system security logs, from your application logs, from endpoint protection that installed in this host parameter, system level detections, okay, system level, operating system level data also is important to see and check. Application level detection, if your application are creating certain logs, you also need to collect these logs. If you have user analytic for what is the user behavior is also a great source to look at the user behavior on this day, okay? So this is all, guys, basically where this is where the identification phase. Where is the identification phase again happening? If you can see, if you can allow me to go back here, guys. So this is the identification phase. This is where we can later on to declare we have an incident and we bought the severity, or we can say this is a normal event, is not affecting our business, and we can move on. Okay, so this is another area that we look at, logs. We have talked about this so many times. Maybe I have show you this diagram before, or maybe this is the first time. I'm not quite sure, but again, if this is something you have guys seen before, you can tell me. That what we have right now here, is it an event or an incident, and why? Okay, so let me explain it. Some of you guys saying I never seen this. So we have here, I'm dumping the TCP connection on one of the machine. Okay, I'm dumping the TCP connection in one of the machines, and I wanted to see what this machine is doing exactly. So I can see there's an IP address here. It's talking to a certain IP address here, and over so many multiple port numbers, so 21, 5,900, 445, 135, 111, 139, okay? And also, the thing that I find it's interesting about this, it's only, guys, I can see this is a sync packet, okay? I cannot really see the response back. So this is only one source and destination. So what happens is, usually when you are communicating over the TCP, you send the communication back from the server, and then you send the acknowledgement. This is what happened in the three-way handshake. But we can see from this, it's only sync packets from one source to destination. So do we have exactly? So do we have here an incident, or we have an event? So let's go and first of all, I can see that it's syncing to many multiple ports. It's including the FTP ports. Okay, it's including also the 5,900, which is a port for VNC. It's a remote desktop. So I wanted to check if the destination does have this. Okay. Firewall outside. This is could be considered an event. Why it considered be an event if that scan the network? So it will not back to me. But the very interesting thing here, guys, if you guys allow me, is you can see that's the person who is doing this, an IP address called 10.10.75.1. 10.10 usually a private address. Private address, it means that something within your network. Okay, so why a machine within my network is scanning another machine? Exactly. So this is incident from my internal network. Usually, who can do the scan, and inshallah we'll see this later on in the cybersecurity track number 3 when we look at the ethical hacking. Usually, who does the scan is a security team. So if this machine is not a security team, or is not really a part of the security team, this is definitely an incident. I cannot allow someone, maybe someone have compromised one of the machine, and he using this machine now to discover my network and just move to another machine. This is a concept of island hopping. Island hopping that we explained yesterday, it means he already compromised one machine and see where is else I can go and hope to. So he will do a scan from this machine, and accordingly, he can start to compromise more machine. So this is definitely incident. How can I tell? Again, by looking at the IP addresses, by looking about what's happening here, I can tell if it's an incident or not. Okay, so this is very important. Also, we can say this is an application level detections, means that you get the logs from your web application, you get the logs from your database, you see who was trying what kind of SQL command someone have issued to the database, what is the response from the database. These are application level is very important. Unfortunately, most of your SOC team doesn't really know about application a lot. So you really need to get the SOC team to understand the application running and understand what kind of logs these things are being sent. Okay. Another thing you need also to, I think it's a challenging here, is to get also logs from the cloud. It now is being better, but again, if your cloud mail server has been compromised 365, do you have an of your mailbox over 365 or no? So this is what the challenge I found with cloud right now. You cannot get logs for everything. In our IT system, I can get, but if we have an incident over the cloud, can I ask Microsoft to send me all the logs that happen in a certain mailbox for a day? Yes or no? So this is all, but again, you need to have these logs and you need to look into them. Why I'm looking at the logs again? Because I wanted to detect what happened exactly. Who sent this email? How this email managed to really evade or bypassing my mail gateway? Okay, which user? If so many users have clicked this same email, how many of them? Okay, so this logs I can get from the application level detection. Okay, guys, useful logs data. You can have the date, timestamp, user, action, and the action that this user did when they got this email. Okay, again, we were talking about the preparation phase, that I need to give my end user a training. I need to give also my help desk a training, and again, these training will can turn to a human sensors. So if something happened to their machine, if they click one link by mistake, if they done something, if they find something weird happening to their computer, they can call the help desk, and the help desk, because they are trained and they know what's happening, they can call your incident response. So this is what we mean by human sensors, maybe. And also one of the things that we should do also in this case is if we have an analytic BUA, analytic user behavior data, I can also get it in my SIM and use it for identification for a certain event. So end user complaint of slowness. This is also you do have to go and investigate why they showing a slowness. Maybe someone is trying to do denial of service attack, or maybe your computer is infected with a virus. So you really need to look and investigate computer slowness, blue screen, unexpected reboot, restarting. So if your computer is rebooting by default, so you really need to really check why this computer. It could be a normal event. It could be just your Windows getting updates and it's rebooting. That's we can understand. But if it reboots multiple times, this is couldn't be indication of a trouble or an incident. So you need to go. I have clicked this email, so you really need to also. This is part of your identification. The conclusion is in identification phase is, can I go out the identification phase? I will say with full of mouse, I have an incident or I don't have. So this is exactly what we do. Help desk is a key. I have explained what is help desk. Help desk is basically the team that they are going and help the user to maybe install or to troubleshoot why the printer is not printing, or why they are not able to open a certain email. They have a problem with certain application. They do not know how to run it. So you have the help desk team. They usually more close to the user because they always in a contact with the users, And I found the help desk team is very helpful also to highlight if we have an incident or no, because they are could be also the first line of detection inside the organization. Okay, so we finished this, guys, and we mentioned the next level of the identity incident is basically containment. So we talked about how to prepare. We talked about how to identify. We talked about you should. I told you guys this is a kind of a step that's between the SOC team and incident response team. And then right now, if after we declare the incident, whether it's declared by the SOC team or whether it's declared by your incident response, you need right away to do containment. And again, the my network. I know that I already have someone breach a computer and start to scan. So this is basically an incident. I really need to try to make sure that I will be fast enough to stop this attack to spread to another area of the networks. I gave you guys already a game before. I don't know if you had the chance to play these games, but this game is all about incident response and SOC team. I don't know if you have seen it or not, but it's not a nice game to play. It just will make more sense for you guys right now to play right now because you understand about the incident response. Okay, so we are saying it was nice. Yes. Okay, so thank you. So containment stops the bleeding, prevent the attacker from getting any deeper or cause more damage, make forensics images, which is basically, as I mentioned, I will show you one diagram now to make it easy for you. But again, you see this poor lady is trying to stop the water she can't. And this is what we really need with containment. Is we really need to make sure that the damage will not spread to more systems. Why? Because the more the attacker will not stop until you really reach his objective. So as much as we can turn the damage. Okay, how can we contain the damage, guys? In the containment, I will explain. Yes, expressive. I believe this is the reality here. Okay, so if you guys look at this, we finish the identification phase. We declared we have an incident. We have 3 sub phases here or subcategories here in the containment. Okay, one of them is short-term containment, getting any deeper for short-term containment. We look at also system backup. This is where you start your digital forensics if it requires a digital forensics. So you really need to start to take the volatiles order. You need to get a backup or maybe an image from the processes running on the computer, from the service running on the computer, from the memory running on this computer, so you make a memory dump. Okay, so this is all, and the most important thing here, guys. Also, we have a long-term containment. I will explain what is the difference between the short-term and the long-term. Okay, what is the difference between them? And this is where you. I have a question here. Yes, they are 3 phases over here, guys. Okay, so let's go and look at this here. Over here, this something called deployment. In the short-term commitment, guys, the first stage here is to do deployment. Deployment means that I will send someone physically to look into the machine, will not interact with this machine. Okay, he will go and take some notes. He maybe will talk to the user what the user seen. Okay, maybe if it's a server, he will take in the server room. He will take a picture of it. Okay, he will take some notes about the status of this machine right now without logging into the machine and start to run commands. Why? Because I still don't want the attacker that I'm here for them, that I discovered their incidents and I'm working on it. Why? Because I don't want them to change to another machine Or maybe they will say, okay, not, we cannot do anything in this network. Let me destroy this machine or cause more havoc or disable something inside the network, and it will cause. So I don't want the attacker, and this is especially in containment, to figure out that I already discovered the incident. So this is mean of deployment. You send someone to take notes, to talk to the users, and maybe take also a system image. By you have sometimes I have seen this. You give them a USB, and this USB is just can be plugged in the computer, and as soon as it's plugged, there's an auto run, and this auto run will dump the memory to the USB, and then he can go and go and analyze this later on when he reaches disk. So this is we can do this also as well. So short-term containment include, this is try to prevent the attacker from causing more damage, okay, without actually changing the compromised hard drive data and machine itself, because I wanted to really make sure that I didn't cause the attacker any manipulation with or modifying with the attacker tracks on this hard drive, because maybe later on I will start my digital forensics. So I really need to be careful that I will not change anything. Okay, so I just can take an image of the memory, but I will not change any hard drive, because I cannot really tell if this is a computer crime or not. I can really still, and this is in early stages. Okay, we wanted unattained evidence or unmodified evidence, because you remember when we talked about digital forensics, we said there is two very important conditions to have an evidence admitted by the court. It's basically unmodified evidence, and also at the same time this chain of custody. Okay, so we really need to not to play or manipulate the disk with any way. Okay, and only can get through a certain process, which is digital forensics. Okay, some possible short containment actions. First of all, I wanted really to stop the attacker to cause more damage. So what I can do at that time, I can just disconnect this computer from the network. Okay, because it looks normal action. Why? Because sometimes a user will take his computer to another room, or maybe he will restart his computer. So we wanted to make sure that the attacker cannot really cause more damage to this computer. So we can disconnect network cable, pull the power cable, lose volatile memory, and may damage the drive. So this is something that you don't do, okay? Because if you really took the power cable, we lose the volatile memory and may damage the drive, which is something we don't want to do at all. So we wanted only to disconnect the network. If we cannot really disconnect the cable physically by sending someone, maybe you can disable it from the switch. So you log into the switch, you look at which port this user is connected to, and then disable. It's saying use network management tools, isolate the switch port, so the system placed on an infected VLAN. What we mean by this, maybe you wanted to really see what kind of behavior this machine is doing right now. I wanted to analyze the machine behavior to understand if there's certain traffic going outside of this machine. So I will take this machine and I will isolate it in a VLAN. We mentioned the VLAN before as an idea of segmentation and also separation. So I can add this in a separated VLAN, okay? And then in separated VLAN, I can study the machine. This machine will be not connected to the attacker, because the infected VLAN is not connected to the internet at all, just connected to one VLAN, which is isolated from everyone. And then I can study this machine more and understand. But again, the most important thing that I cut the link between the attacker and between the machine. How? By moving this machine to the infected VLAN. Sometimes they called it a block VLAN. So this VLAN cannot communicate with each other with anyone else. So the attacker now he cannot reach the machine anymore. And this is what will really prevent the attacker from causing more damage. Okay, apply filter to routers and firewalls. If I know 100% the attacker is using certain IP address, okay, and I wanted the attacker to cut the connection between the attacker and the server, maybe I can come on the firewall and apply certain, rules to block the IP address. But again, if you guys remember the pyramids of pain that we talked about maybe 2 days ago, and the pyramid of pain saying that the attacker easy for him to change a hash, to change an IP address, to change a domain. So maybe when you do this, the attacker will come again with a different IP address to communicate with this machine. So maybe this is not the best option, but at least you can implement a rule here quickly in the firewall to block the attacker IP address. In the case of malware specifically, the attackers are using new techniques that allow them to change the domain in a rapid way, okay, like DNS flux. Maybe we'll explain DNS flux more in details, inshallah, when we study cybersecurity attacks. But again, username in the DNS to point to a different IP address. Okay, so you can also internally, you can have a DNS here, and the DNS here is basically communicating with this machine of this machine. The attacker will not be able to reach the machine within the network. So this is also another way. So this is all, as you can guys see, term solution by network or cause more damage to the same machine, or maybe to infiltrate other machines within the network. Again, if you are in a fire situation, you wanted to make sure to contain maybe the fire in one room, okay, and not let this fire to spread outside this room and cause more damage. So this is another thing you guys need to understand in the on the short term. Okay, so let's go and look at the creating forensics images. Okay, and this is the basically here over here the system backup. The system backup here, no, it's not means I wanted to back up my system because the system is infected already. So there is no need really to do a backup here. This is what we mean here by system backup is basically is digital forensics. Okay, so I wanted to take a digital forensics image from different stuff. And we mentioned that the digital forensics image is basically looking for evidence that this machine has been compromised, whether it's a processes, whether it's a service running, whether it's a new registry in this machine, whether a new user has been created in this machine, okay, whether I wanted to see the files in this machine, especially if this malware is installed somewhere, whether the attacker added a DLL here in this machine. I wanted to get all this evidence from the machine. And what you can use this at that time, guys, there is two approach. And the first approach is saying you need to start with order of volatility. And order of volatility we have explained in one lecture. We mean that we look at the things that's easy to volatile and start with, like the memory dump, the network connectivity, the processes, the service running on this machine at that time. And then you need to also do also hard drive image bit by bit in order to get the forensics image. Okay, so we go here and say creating the forensic image, make forensics image of effective system as soon as it's practical. So this is once we disconnect this machine from the network and disconnect it from the attacker, we start to have our digital forensics. Okay, grab an image of memory as well as file systems. This is what we mentioned. That's order of volatility. Use blank media. Yani use hard drive which is empty. Okay, if possible, make a bit by bit image to get all the file system data. And this is basically also following the order of volatility by getting the data out. Not all incident will allow you to do a full backup and analysis. So you make sure that also in some cases that's you will have no time to disconnect the hard drive and have bit to bit image, because this takes time, and you really need to put this hard drive in non-write or write protection mode. So you cannot do this sometimes. Why? Because maybe the business owner will say this server is very important. We cannot have fully time down for this server. So not all the time you will be able to have everything, but at least get the memory, get a quick copy of the connection of these machines and all the stuff. Okay, create a hash of the original and your image, such MD5. We talked about why we do this, and SHA-1 hashing using MD5 sum, MD5 deep, or any forensic tool with a hash calculation, because you wanted to show the really later on that the hash that's generated from the server and the hash generated from the image are identical. That means you took every single thing in the hard drive, can basically go ahead and start to really see this evidence, show this evidence in the court, because again the whole how can we really make the court to believe this is the real evidence, is to show them that this evidence has not been modified or manipulated with. So MD5 hashing is one of the things that we can ensure integrity with. So make sure that you can take a hashing for the data. Okay, what we have here, guys, also it's related to digital forensics, is something called drive duplicator hardware and write blockers. Means you have your hard drive here connected to a machine, and this is will allow you to duplicate the hard drive, and at the same time it will block the writing in the hard drive, and that means that your hard drive image will be not modified at all. And this machine specifically, you will find it with a digital forensics team, and as you can see, it can be connected to your machine over network, and then you duplicate the hard drive. Check if you have drive duplicated hardware. Make sure it copies bit by bit and not just allocated space. Consider buying write blocking hardware. The write blocking hardware, as I mentioned, is something to block the bus of the hardware. So you have in your hard drive, okay, there is a bus. Okay, bus means when you connect the hard drive to basically to data connection. So that data connection, some of these buses are meant to write to this hard drive, and some of these connection are meant to read from this hard drive. So when you buy a hard drive blocker, you will disable these buses. So even if there is one malware in your computer, even if you try to write something, because the blocker is here, you cannot really reach the bus of the of writing, and you will not be able to modify this hard drive at all. So that's why it's important to really have this thing installed. Long-term planning actions. Okay, guys, batch the system. What he mean really by batching the system here? Let's say that you've seen a compromise within one of Windows machines, okay? And you really realize at that time, the main cause of this issue, guys, right now, is because this system was not patched for a long time. So you learn from this, guys, and to make sure that the attacker will not be able to really compromise other machine who has the same issue. So just let me give you an example. So if you have a machine, okay, so you are using version 8, but the current version right now is 9.5, and you can see that the attacker managed to exploit this machine because he found a vulnerability in version 8, and he managed to really do exploit or take over this machine because of this. Now you have 10 machines in the network using Windows, using OS or BDF version 8. So you really need to go and update these other machines to the newest one, because you don't want the attacker to also attack the other machine. So this is main batching neighbor system. Insert intrusion prevention or inline snort means that you wanted really to know if the other machine is if you guys remember yesterday, we talked about how to create a signature for a certain malware, okay, and then you get an alert every time there is a certain string or certain condition met in this alert. So maybe at that time also, if I wanted to see if other machines are infected by this specific malware, I can go to my Snort machine or Snort IDS and IPS and implement the same rules here. So I can see if other machines as well within the network are creating this traffic. So this will help me to see if how many machines are infected with the same malware. Okay, a change password if if one of your accounts has been compromised. So it's recommended at that time to change the password for users. Okay, alter trust relationship, apply firewall and router rules, remove accounts used by the attacker if the attacker added more accounts, shut down backdoor processes used by the attackers. Now, guys, we are talking about that. خلاص, I'm really the situation under condition, and now I can really do a full containment because the attacker cannot see this machine anymore, because in the first phase I already isolated this machine. So now I'm really looking at the machine. I took an image from the machine. So I took all the evidence that maybe I later on to really make sure that this machine is really not gonna cause any harm again. So I'm looking at the procedures that the attacker created. I'm looking at the account the attacker created. I'm creating a signature that can block similar malware or similar attacks within my network. Okay, and he mentioned here clearly you didn't do eradication yet. What you have to do, what you are doing right now is just a a little bit of cleanup for what the attacker did in this machine. Okay, the idea of long-term commitment is to apply TIM band aid to the production company, or to stay in production while you are building cleanup system during eradication. Okay, guys. So the idea here, as you can see, is you are doing TIM band aid, يعني a little bit of aid for this system which is being compromised. Okay, so far so good, guys. Okay, great. So what we mean by eradication here, this is I would say fourth phase, especially if we looked at the diagram again, where we are right now. We moved from preparation to identification to containment, and then we have eradication. So the eradication now phase, what we do in eradication, as it's mentioned here clearly, get rid of the attacker artifact on the machine. Why I can get rid of this? Because I already took a digital image from everything. Now, if I wanted really to make sure that I eradicate what he's done, I will go disable and delete everything the attacker done and caused damage. If I find the DLL, I would delete this DLL. If I find malware file, I would delete this malware. If I find a new account has been added, I will delete it. Okay, and then also the most important thing here, guys, is determine the cause and symptoms of this incident. This is where I said before that we need to do root cause analysis, and the root cause analysis here, okay. So the root cause analysis, I'll write it here so you guys can see it all, because I'm saying root, but it does sound like root for root cause analysis. Okay, so root cause analysis, I wanted to understand why this machine is being infected. You know, when you have a pandemic, okay, when you have, I don't know if you've seen this in movies, we have someone called patient zero. Okay, I don't know if you've seen any movies about, you know, diseases that's been spreaded in a wild. So they called patient zero. If I really have this patient zero, I can tell how the disease has been already infected this human, and how this disease is spreaded everywhere. And if I manage to know how the disease affected this person, I can create at that time the medicine for it, or maybe the vaccine for it. I don't know, there's one very famous movie, American movie, they were talking about a monkey that's caused a family kind of spreading of the disease, and they were looking for you know, patient zero until they found this monkey, and they found the first early family has been infected, and then they managed to cure the whole city was infecting with this disease. It's not a zombie movie, but it's like this is how they treat or certain I would say vaccine, how to develop vaccine. You really need to find the patient zero. I really need to find out how he's been infected, and then once I found out the root cause, I can really treat it and look to other machine within my network and treat it the same way. So here we take off the all artifacts that attacker have left in our machine. I will disable his backdoor if he created a backdoor, and then I will try to determine, okay, what caused this machine. Okay, oh, was a phishing attack. The attacker visited this. He got this email from this sender. He clicked this link, and then his machine downloaded this file, and then the machine downloaded another file. So now I understand the whole scenario. So what was causing this? Okay, what caused this phishing email to bypass my email gateway? Okay, so you really need to look at this as well. This is called, all of this guys called basically the root cause analysis. Okay, so root cause analysis. Also at that stage, guys. Sorry, this was supposed also to be in the containment area. I'm really sorry about that. It's just jumped to one area. I need just to really have this over here. Okay. So this is also, you need to inform the management that we have an incident. This is important. Sometimes you need to enforce the CISO, the CIO, the legal department, okay, the HR department. We need to clear the incidents. Maybe you are not the best one who is really gonna announce about this incident. Maybe you have one team member that he really knows how to talk to the business and how to highlight for them what's happening. So let him do the job and declare to the business what's happening. Also assign a minimum of 2 people to each incident, a primary person and a helper. Make sure both take notes of their action and observation, because this is, again, we mentioned it can be used in the court. Okay. One thing that you need to remember: if short-term containment disables the systems, make sure you advise someone in the business unit responsible for this system. يعني انت you have maybe a server that we are using for database. Okay, so you need to inform the business owner or the database about what's happening in his system. Okay, and if he said no, you cannot contain my system, I need this system to be up and running. Look at this specifically, which is sometimes it's hard to really understand, but this is what it really is all about. If you have a disagreement, you as an IT or you are as an incident response team saying, this system should be isolated, and the business see that we really need this system to be up and running. Okay, try to listen to business, and this is what he's saying here: business wins. Okay, just give me 1 second because I have an intruder in my room. Okay, sorry about that, guys. So here, which is this I found a little bit also not easy to understand, is we have here sometimes, guys, if we have a disagreement, if we said that we need to isolate the system and the business said no, we need to have this system up and running, and again the business wins. Okay, because we are here to highlight, we are here to protect the business. The business sees there is a really huge need, okay, for this system to be still in running. Try to do your work, okay, without disrupting the business, and make sure that you communicate with them all the time, and make sure that also to show them what is the impact if we leave the system up and running while the attacker is inside the system. Maybe their idea is, okay, let's wait for 1 hour or 2 hours, and then our business will win. So this is one thing that I wanted to bring to you guys. Okay, so eradication, we talked about eradication and how we talked about this also. Containment, the containment is what we mean by keeping a low profile, that you really doesn't notify the attacker that you are really tracking him or taking image from this system, trying to make sure that you really don't tip your hand to the attackers, so the attacker cannot just move to another system or destroy this system. Okay, don't go and run ping or NS lookup on the same machine that's been compromised until standard procedure. Okay, another here in some cases, okay, in the containment phase, you maybe doesn't have the enough team to handle the case. So in this area, there is no shame. Go and ask for help from regulators. So and sometimes, guys, you find okay, this phase have two steps: find the root cause and inform all related parties, right? No, the informing, guys, is basically is part of the containment. Once you have an incident, once you are working to contain it, okay, include the business, because what at one certain point during the containment, guys, you really need to say, okay, this system need to be isolated. So you really need to communicate with the business saying, okay, I will contain this damage, I will isolate this system, I will do maybe a forensics image for this system. This is all will take time, guys. So you really need to inform the system, inform the management about these actions before you start eradication. Okay, so as I can see, I'm trying to arrange my lecture now. I'm sorry about this. Actually, once you have an incident, once you declare an incident, I would say highly recommended to inform the management. We have something. We really will try our best to mitigate. So this is very important. Okay, and again, guys, eradication, as I mentioned before, this is the root cause. Once you find the root cause, and once you find the patient zero, and once you find what we should be done order for this thing that's not to happen again, then you move to the last part of the lecture today, which is basically is gonna be the recovery part. And the recovery part, guys, is basically trying to recover, okay, from an incident. And the recovery is basically is back to production. In order to back to the production, you really need to have a clear image installed in one of these machines, and you really need to have the system is cleared from all this stuff, okay, and the system will be able to function again. So the recovery will require someone from the system team to install the image, someone from the application team to have the image up and running, someone from the network team to connect to the machine back to the normal production, and have the user or have the customer to connect to the machine. And as finally, we have talked about this before, and I keep telling you guys, this is the message, so the lesson learned from this attacker, from this incident. What do we have learned? Okay, during the incident, so there's two things that we can highlight here. So during the incident, someone done something wrong during this stages, okay, from my incident team. So we will look at these procedures and we see, can we improve these procedures? Can we make sure this person will not do these mistakes again? Okay, so this is when it comes to the incident. Area from the incident, from the lesson learned, that we see how we've been breached in the first place, what the root cause, and we try to implement the best practice to prevent this from happening in the future. So there is two parts of the last area here in the lesson learned, to look at our processes, to look at what our team done during the incident, to make sure we improve it if we find any, and then also sometimes we learn about what happened exactly. We communicate this to the cybersecurity installation team or a prevention team or blue team. Okay, so this is all the steps in incident response, guys. Okay, any questions so far? At the end, include employees awareness. Okay, yes, we need to also, if I agree with you. So Ibtisam was saying that users are really need to be aware of what happened. So that's why we mentioned here, Ibtisam, early beginning, that's in preparation. You need really to get your people trained. If you find that's this incident because of lack of training, so basically someone clicked a link or someone being socially engineered by someone outside the organization, so you really need to get the training done again for these specific people or for the entire organization in general. So yes, this could be actually one of the things. That's why they always saying security is about securing the process, securing people, and securing the technology. So maybe after the incident, you find that the people is really where you should improve your security. As again, because some of the organization, they consider the people is the weakest point of the entire information system. So we really need to implement security at the process and in the people level and the technology level. Okay, guys. So I will add this also to our basically, inshallah, lectures for today. But again, the most important thing is to remember what is the cybersecurity job. So this is, I would say, it's good to crack a joke from time to time with your family at home about what you do. So I will just save this here and send it to you guys in Discord. So any questions so far? Okay. Okay, guys. Please make sure that's 1 o'clock to again to go to Miss Sahar, Miss Sahar meeting, and I will see you later on. Dr. Asad, inshallah, will be able to give you the lab today, and inshallah, I will see you inshallah next week. I hope you also good weekend. Enjoy it and have some fun because we have a lot to cover next week, inshallah. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you, sir. Have a great weekend for you.
Inshallah.